Most service providers obsess over finding new clients in order to increase revenue. But the real profit lever, yes, even yours, is hiding in plain sight already inside your business. I'm talking about your lifetime client value. And if you don't know what your lifetime client value is, that's okay. We're going to go over simple calculations today and a couple of examples so I can visually walk you through how small adjustments can make a huge impact on your lifetime client value, also known as your LTV. This is the metric that changes service-based businesses from constantly hustling and needing to always focus on lead gen and bringing in clients, and instead enables them to serve deeper, go deeper with their clients that they already love, the dreamy ones, and enables them to be able to say yes to only value aligned clients instead of saying yes to everyone that comes in the door because you need cash. So before I walk you through the calculations, let's do a high level conversation of what LTV actually is. So LTV, your lifetime client value, is the total revenue a single client, generates throughout the entire relationship with your business. Now, most people just look at surface level LTV. You can live there and do those initial calculations, and that's totally fine. That's going to give you enough of an idea of what a client LTV is for you. Now, the extra credit that I want to encourage you to do is really look at the absolute total LTV, all of the calculations that need to happen in order to find the true LTV. You might be thinking the base version of LTV includes stuff like initial projects, ongoing work, upsells, right? But I want you to also start to calculate referrals as part of your LTV. So that single number tells you what a client is actually worth to your business. Most service providers are only focusing on the project fees and the hourly rates, and that is the phase one of understanding LTV. But I really want you to look at holistically what a client is bringing your entire business and the overall impact that they have. Because here's why this metric matters. Acquisition costs are rising across every single platform and not just actual financial dollars. Ad costs continue to go up, but so does the noise and the competition of nearly every single industry. So therefore, the effort to get seen and get noticed is costing more dollars and more time. True profitability comes from maximizing the value after acquisition. And you can only understand the payoff that that's going to get you if you understand what your LTV is. Ultimately, you'll be able to understand what exactly you can afford, both financially and time-wise, to acquire a new client, an ideal new client, when you know their true value. Because we all know that focusing only on acquisition just creates the constant hamster wheel of new client pursuit. And it's one of the fastest tracks that a service provider can take to burnout land. Here are a couple of quick signals that you need to be addressing your LTV. Because ultimately, your LTV signals and reveals the true health of your business. A high LTV indicates a strong client relationship and valuable services, meaning you've priced appropriately. What you're putting in as deliverables are finding a result. You're getting referrals and people are sticking around and they're buying higher price products. Low LTV signals potential issues with service delivery or the client fit, oftentimes both. So we're over delivering and undercharging, or we don't have the ideal client who doesn't have the budget for something higher, and we need to address our messaging and what actually is going inside of our offers. Tracking your LTV over time, specifically after the first 18 to 24 months of being in business, is critical for you to be able to keep the pulse on the success of your client relationships, the values of your packages, and your price points. It really helps you identify which of your services is creating those lasting relationships so that you know which type to go after more often. Now, while LTV sometimes is a little bit more complicated and a little bit more nuanced, I promise you that it's worth tracking. And I really encourage you to focus spending your energy here rather than looking at vanity metrics like social media followers or even your email list size. As a service provider, those metrics don't matter as much. And instead of obsessing over what exactly you should be charging on an hourly rate, I want you focused on looking at retention. Instead of just tracking new client numbers, I want you also looking at how long your clients are staying. And I really want you paying attention to how can we start to connect your marketing efforts to your actual client lifetime value. It's one thing to get a lot of clients in the door that have a low lifetime value, and another thing to get just a handful of clients that have a really high lifetime value. My clients prefer working with less people and earning more. Knowing your LTV is going to help you do that. Okay, so I'm going to screen share. Let's get into the formula of LTV, and I want to show you some real life examples of what it could look like if you were to go from hourly to packages and retainers. And let's toggle some price increases so you can see what really is available and how big a small price increase can adjust your overall LTV. Okay, so here is the simple LTV formula I wanted to walk you through today. It is honestly really easy, and this is the base where we're just looking at monthly revenue. I want you, maybe in a phase 2.0 video, I'll walk you through how to actually include referrals into this formula, but we're keeping it simple for right now. So all you need to do is take your monthly revenue times your average client retention. So how long they stay, that is your LTV. Okay, that's it. It's that simple. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples so you can start to see what could this look like at various stages so that you can see it in real life situations. So say, for example, you're an hourly service provider and you charge 75 bucks an hour and you have a service package that provides 10 hours of your time. That means you're earning $750 per month, right? From a client. So now let's say that client sticks around for 6 months. We're going to multiply that by the 750, which means we get a $4,500 lifetime value for that single client. So if you have multiple people at a $750 rate, how many hours are they getting? How long are they sticking around? Multiply that, you're going to be able to find your lifetime value per client. Now, you could take this a step further by adding up all of your individual client lifetime values and dividing that by the total number of clients you have, which will give you your average lifetime value. If you've got more than 3 clients, you can do that math. If you don't, then you're just going to stick with individual metrics. So now let's look at what does this look like for a retainer service provider. So say, for example, you have a 2K package that has a 6-month container. Maybe you get your clients to stick around for 6 months, or your package, your offer is delivered in 6 months. So that client would have a $12,000 lifetime value. But say, for example, you get those people to increase their contract. Remember how we talked about this in our price increase scripts. We're getting our legacy clients, our VIP clients, the people that we love to serve. What if we got them to just sign a longer contract? How does that impact your LTV? Well, it could double it, right? How would it feel to double the lifetime value of your client just by getting them to commit to a longer contract? Which means you're doubling your forecasted revenue. Your contracted revenue increases exponentially if you just get clients to stick around for a little bit longer. Okay? So now let's look at what if we were to actually offer a high level advising strategic solution to our clients. I'm not saying you need to offer this to every single one of your clients, but what I help my clients see inside Revenue Catalyst is that as we shift and increase our prices, right? But as we also offer a new way of working with us that lets us, the founder, sit in a strategic high level advising seat, we're able to obviously charge more for that because we're partnering with these clients on a different level. These are the clients who you're already going deep into the weeds with. You're providing a lot of strategy, you're giving your opinion, you're breaking down scenarios, and you're not getting paid for it. So what if you did get paid for it? How does that actually impact your LTV? Well, you can see right here that if we bump up into a $3,500 a month container, which is a very typical container for a high level advisor, and you get a client to stick around for 12 months, that's a $42,000 lifetime value. Now, I love to get my clients to stick around for a lot longer than that. I don't love signing longer than 12-month contracts. You never know what's going to happen. You never know when you're going to increase your prices or change the scope or delivery. And so I don't like to commit myself beyond a year. That's definitely up to you. It's a preference for you. I don't typically recommend that. Or you can put a clause in your contract that says this is an ongoing, like in perpetuity contract, but the terms and which terms are able to be revised every 6 months, 12 months, or whatever. Just make sure you protect yourself and you don't lock yourself into a rate. Even if you feel good about it today, I don't want you to lock yourself into a rate that feels inequitable in years to come. So I want you to really see the LTV difference here. An hourly provider charging 75 bucks an hour, which is really common for OBM and VA type rates. Like there's a lot of conversation in between who should be charging what. This is a little bit more on the OBM level of rate and not a VA rate. But this could be someone who's also offering, copywriting, design work, anyone doing hourly service. 75 feels like a spot that a lot of people aim for, and then they typically stay there for a while, right? But say you're at 75 bucks an hour, every client that comes through, if they stick around for, months, we're looking at a $4,500 per client LTV. And that's being generous in all honesty. If we actually do the math and give a couple of different examples, if that person only sticks around for 3 months, we're looking at $2,250. If they stick around for a month and then come back a couple months later, and then a couple months later, it really impacts your cash flow and your forecasting, which doesn't help you plan as a business owner when to make your own investments, whether it be hiring or education or systems or whatever it might be. And I really want you to be protected there. But you can see the difference pretty immediately when you start talking about a retainer provider versus an hourly provider. You're looking at opportunities like 12K, 24K, or 42K and beyond per client. To break down that in individual client math, you're looking at 3 to 10 hourly clients could equal one retainer client. And so I'm never going to be the person that's going to say, get rid of all of your hourly clients and switch to retainers. I don't think that that's necessarily what feels good for a lot of people. It puts a lot of pressure on businesses. But what I will say is I love me a hybrid. And I love working toward something like this. Even if I'm still serving clients here, inching them up while also trying to reshape and redefine my business into a retainer style that is high level advising. And if you want help doing that, I would love to chat with you. But I wanted to walk you through this math because sometimes seeing it visualized like this helps you really see, okay, yeah, if I were to increase, so say for example, if you're still hanging out in the hourly provider realm, if you go from $75 to $90 an hour, right? And we're going to do the exact same scenario. It's 900 bucks a month, and we're going to, bump them out to 6 months. You're at $5,400 per client. That's great. That's nearly $1,000 increase per client, right? Every 6 months. But I also want you to see how going from $75 an hour to $90 an hour, it kind of feels like a big jump, and it doesn't really get you that much. 1,500 bucks, that's great. I love that. And you see how big of a difference we're sitting when we're in a higher price container and we're not charging hourly, but we're charging a flat fee for our services. So I want to help you decide what goes in those retainers so that you can feel really in alignment with the value that you're providing. So now that we've seen the math and we've run a couple of scenarios through, which one is hitting home for you? Where are you at currently with your hourly pricing, your packages, or your retainer? And where do you want to be? Run the scenarios. Do your current actual lifetime value right now, and then play some hypotheticals. What if you were to raise your hourly rate? What if you were to switch from hourly to retainer and mess around with some of those packages and the lengths of time that your clients are staying? What could it look like for you to shift to something more ideal and more long term and being able to serve those clients on a deeper level? If you want help figuring out what that looks like, comment below. There's some information for you in the description in the caption of this video, and I would love to connect with you to figure it out.